Now, most of you already know that inflation is the rising price of goods and services we use on a day-to-day. I mean, you will know that currently South Africa right now, it is sitting at an inflation of 6.5%, which is very important because you will know that regardless of the asset class that you might own or regardless of the savings account that you might have, real interest boils down to nominal interest minus inflation, meaning that whatever percentage that you are getting in your asset class, in your savings account, what you need to do in terms of the return, or let's say your bank is giving you 4%, you need to, of course, our real inflation is equals to 6.3%, which is the current inflation in South Africa, minus that 4%, meaning that your money is actually losing value due to inflation of over 2%, which is something that is not good at all. So it is important that you know that a higher inflation is always not good, especially to those people that save, because, ladies and gents, the higher it goes, the lower returns you will witness or see in your savings account, because anything below 6% as it stands, ladies and gents, it is not considered to be a good return or investment returns or savings returns, whatever you call it. But you must strive to find a place or an asset class that is able to generate you more than the value that our money is depreciating with, which is something that you should always have at the back of your mind. Now, inflation, like I said, the good thing is that in South Africa, it is coming down or decreasing, which is something that is good, because, ladies and gents, that means that now when you talk of real interest, it will mean that obviously as it continues dropping, it will end up seeing, of course, ourselves making some good returns on our investments. I mean, worldwide, you will know that there are countries whose inflation is trading very low. I mean, right now we've got places like China whose inflation is just below 2%. America inflation is currently at 4%, which is still a concern because you know that they are targeting 2%. And of course, here our inflation is at 6.3% in South Africa, but the South African Reserve Bank is targeting inflation of between 3 and 6%. So although we are very close to the 6%, ladies and gents, we are still very far off from at least the mean or the average inflation target as per the South African Reserve Bank. So we still have a long way to go, but the good thing is that we are seeing inflation coming down, which is a good thing. As I've been saying, this 6.3, ladies and gents, it is a good thing to not only consumers but to also the companies that we invest in, because what happened during inflation is that obviously companies don't make as much money as they should. They don't generate as much revenue as they used to, because, ladies and gents, prices of the products and services which they offer, it's so expensive that most of the consumers that used to, of course, afford those services, those products, don't afford them anymore. I mean, in South Africa, you will know that we had some of the few products that were skyrocketing in terms of price was, of course, cooking oil, which, yeah, I mean, most of you will know that obviously the price of cooking oil was just too high, but it looks like now it's stabilizing, or it has stabilized, which is something that is a good thing, right? So this is good news not only to consumers but to the companies that we probably invest in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Otherwise, before I forget, I also you already know that this video is just an entertainment video and not a professional financial advice video. Now, I really appreciate it. You can just hit the like button if you do enjoy, or if you are enjoying the content that I'm giving you today. So if you like this content, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, because on this channel we're all about, of course, the stock market. Any kind of news that have an impact into the stock market, we cover them on this channel, because, ladies and gents, it is important that as you are investing in the stock market, you will know that there are certain things that if they are to happen, though the company probably you are investing in is maybe performing well, but there are other things that can have a huge impact into those companies you are investing in the stock market, which is why things like inflation are very important that you also track as a retail investor. You also track as someone also who's is having a savings account somewhere in any financial institutions in South Africa or globally, because it is very important, like, guys, for you to know the kind of returns or the actual returns you are generating from whatever asset class or savings account you are, of course, putting your money into. So if you like this kind of niche, hit that like button, as it also helps with YouTube's algorithm. So without wasting any more of your time, inflation in South Africa is cooling off, which is a good sign, or which is something that is good, because now, like I said, the real interest that we, of course, have to find when we subtract inflation from the the nominal interest or the kind of interest that institutions, those of you that are saving, are promising you, it is at least going to be better or on a positive, because you'll know that in South Africa inflation was once over 7.5%, meaning that the money in South Africa was losing value by around 7.5% or over 7.5% annually, which is something that obviously it was not good at all. Now, the fact that we are seeing inflation or the cost of living decreasing, it is good news to, like I said, consumers and of course investors, or even the companies that we invest in. Now, some of you might be asking yourselves, what causes high inflation? Now, high inflation mainly, some of you might know that it is caused by salary increase or wages increase. It is caused by increase in money supply and also the demand in products and services that are out there. Now, you will know that when you talk of increase in money supply, you will know that back in 2020 during the pandemic, the government or countries all over the world were of course introducing relief packages or relief to their consumers or to the residents of specific countries. I mean, most of you who had loans, car loans and whatnot, you will notice that back in 2020 there was a relief that banks were offering to consumers of saying that you could pause paying your loans for about 3 months, which obviously it was a good thing, right? That of course stimulated of course a high inflation, or it contributed a lot into high inflation, because not only was the government or the South Africa getting money from international institutions trying to put in mitigation measures to curb of course the pandemic, but they were also putting a lot of incentives trying to of course assist a day-to-day consumer like you and me to of course spend less or not have a huge impact from what we're seeing in 2020. This resulted in a lot of people having surplus money left after they had spent or buy normal things that they use on a month to month, which led into of course people having to buy lots and lots of more things, which resulted in of course the demand in many of the products and services we use on a day-to-day, which led into prices for those products and services to rise. Because if a company produces 50 items and of course they see the demand, a lot of demand into those items, they are forced to obviously increase the prices of those items because their production capacity is 50, or what they can produce is 50, let's say, on a month. So that leads into high inflation, because then now it means that that company still produces 50 but the demand is just a lot, so they try to obviously capitalize from that and make or rise the prices of those products, which leads into high inflation. So that is, or those are some of the things that happened back in 2020 during the pandemic, which resulted in South Africa, ladies and gents, to sit with this high inflation. Now, I know some of the people might still see the 6.3%, which is the SA current inflation, still too high, but to me at least it is a relief, or it brings me hope. It gives me hope to say that inflation in South Africa, ladies and gents, very soon we'll be seeing it ranging between 3 and 6%, which is the SA Reserve Bank's target, which will be a very good thing, because ladies and gents, you know that when inflation is high, what of course the South African Reserve Bank does is to of course introduce interest rate hikes, which is something that we've been seeing, which has been the one thing that, or one of the things that has been killing our economy, one of the things that has been of course making consumers not be able to afford certain things that they used to, because ladies and gents, the repayments on the loans that we have, ladies and gents, we saw it increasing because of the high interest rate or interest rate hikes which were being implemented by of course the SA Reserve Bank. So the fact that we are seeing a low CPI or cost of living, or the cost of living in South Africa decreasing, it is a good thing, because then this will lead into the South African Reserve Bank sooner or later starting to think about cutting interest rates. So this is something that is a good thing. But in terms of cutting, based on some of the articles which I was reading, it looks like it might take some time before actually we see interest rate cuts even in South Africa, because what they want is to at least make sure that they have really controlled inflation, because if they start decreasing interest rates too soon, then it might result in inflation rising yet again. It might result in the cost of living rising again. So chances are very high. I mean, in the US, what the Fed just said last week, Thursday, they were saying that chances are they might, if though inflation in the US is 4% and their target is 2%, chances are they are still going to increase interest rates because they know that they are not yet out of the spider web. The inflation, if they start decreasing interest rates now, it might result in them seeing inflation skyrocketing again, which is something they don't want. So chances are, even here locally, we, instead of us starting to expect or project maybe interest rate cuts, we might at least have maybe halt in increase in interest rates as the SA Reserve Bank monitors, of course, this inflation. Otherwise, with all that, guys, I just thought I'd just give you this quick update. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and that's if you have not supported on this channel. And once you subscribe, don't forget to hit or click that notification bell so that at least you get notified by YouTube every time I drop a new content. So as I've said, it is very important that in whatsoever asset class you are investing in and whatsoever kind of savings account you have, make sure that you know, or at the back of your mind, you know that whatever interest you are generating from all of those, you need to subtract 6.3% or the current inflation, as that will only, or as that is the only thing that will give you your real interest in your investments or savings. Otherwise, that's all from me, and I wish you nothing but the best in your stock market investing journey, and God bless you all.